Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Chiron Conjunct one's natal Black Moon Lilith. Now, when you have transits that involve Chiron, they can be about physical and emotional wounds, helping, healing, suffering. Um, the thing about this is when you have transit Chiron conjoin one's natal Black Moon Lilith, well, it may manifest in physical and emotional wounds, helping, healing. It may involve, there may be some kind of suffering or trauma. Um, Chiron is the wounded healer, so it can reflect ways that we help others that we're unable to help ourselves in. And this could be in the negative manifestation of the placement of the sign you have, the Black Moon Lilith in. It might be where you're paying more repercussions at this time for the behavior that's associated um, with the placement. In Aries, it could be just general acrimonious energy or overly impulsive energy that you might be facing more consequences at this time, more so than usual. The Black Moon Lilith is also connected could be connected with a very powerful, formidable adversary. So it could be a time where you may be having to face greater consequences. There may be more suffering in connection with a powerful enemy you may be having to contend with. But it could also be a time where it can be about healing. In this matter, it could be something where it could be a reconciliation at this time with this person as well, because Chiron is also about healing, or you might be able to heal somebody else that is dealing with some kind of adversary. I mean, if it's in Taurus, it could be one that's very stubborn and obstinate, as an example. Thing about this to keep in mind that conjunctions in astrology are neutral. It's intensifying energy, it's intensification of the energy of the astrological energy that's contacting each other. And the thing is, it can go either way. In many instances, one may experience positive and negative elements and expression or what have you. It may impact you positively and negatively, but whether it can, or whether its expression is more positive or negative, a lot of that could be predicated and dependent on other aspects that this makes the points in your chart, this transit does. So anyway, now keep in mind that Black Moon Lilith could also be about what we're concealing, what we don't want unveiled. And the thing about this is there might be it could be greater suffering in dealing with what we don't want, what someone doesn't want unveiled. I mean, if it's some kind of psychological issues and you're not willing to talk about it, sometimes that can fester, and it could lead to just more emotional turmoil that you have to deal with. It might be something where something comes out that you didn't want exposed, and that you were really trying to keep hidden, and that is what could be causing more pain at this time. The thing about this is Black Moon Lilith is also connected. I mean, I was talking before about it being the negative manifestation of the sign, which can be the dark side of the energy as well. In Taurus, it could be a very avaricious or obstinate or stubborn, overly possessive type of nature, and it might be something where if it's in Taurus, in this example, that could be something where you could be going through greater repercussions or ramifications. Black Moon Lilith is also connected with it could be that void in one's life. So at this time, again, being the wounded healer, it can be something, where you could be feeling maybe more repercussions as a result of your void in your life and more emotional suffering, but you might be able to help somebody else dealing with that particular void in life associated with the sign that it's in, house placement. If it's in the zodiac sign Cancer, it can be something connected with the home and the family. Perhaps it may be something where you might not, the person you're helping may not feel like they're getting that, that sympathy or empathy from family members, or there's something with a safety or security issue. Um, Now, the Black Moon Lilith is also associated with that very erotic, uninhibited sexual energy and drive. So at this time, um, some cases it might be just dealing with, there might be some limitation in expressing this at this time, or there can be something where maybe, maybe this expression of that energy might be the self-undoing. Um, say if it's in the 12th house, especially that's the house of self-undoing, um, or even Pisces as another example. It can be something too. Black Moon Lilith is also associated with sexual abuse. So if you have this transit, sometimes if you had been a victim of this, it can be something that maybe you might start to lament over, or these memories are coming back to haunt you and they're having some negative impact on you at this time. Some cases it may result in that transpiring at the time of this transit. It's a time, I would say, for people to be, really prudent and careful when you have this transit, because you're talking about, Chiron can be connected with physical wounds and abuse. Black Moon Lilith can have a connection with trauma, sexual abuse. It can be some kind of suffering. Sometimes it can be physical abuse, and the thing is, it might be suffering that one may have to deal with trauma, or you might feel this time there might be an ineptitude in terms of dealing with the traumatic experience that you might go through when you have this transit. Black Moon Lilith is also associated with what may put one in a strong state of fright or trepidation. And, the thing is, if it's in Scorpio, it could be maybe relinquishing some kind of power or control, or maybe even something about having power and control can be a situation which may not, which might make the person somewhat apprehensive and put them in a strong state of fright. This could also be, keep in mind, Black Moon Lilith is also, I talked about abuse before, Black Moon Lilith in some isolated case can be associated with death. And the thing is, sometimes it might simply be, some memories that might be haunting a person over, someone's death that they knew very well, whether it might be a prominent family member or a close friend. It might be an experience somebody has with somebody that they know that may pass at this time. In some isolated cases, if it's in the 4th house, it can be a home or family member, or someone simply is close to home with. And the thing about this transit too, another way this can manifest is that the deepest wound may be connected with that empty part of one's life, that void that one may have, or one feels that they have, that hasn't really been filled completely. Say if this is in Leo in the 4th house as an example, it can be maybe a person that might have been ostracized or exiled, perhaps from an arrogant or egotistical family. Arrogant, egotistical can be connected with Leo. Family, of course, is the associated with the 4th house. It also can be expressed in some cases where you're helping or healing others, perhaps through embracing the higher level of the Black Moon Lilith placement. Now, for example, let's say this falls in Aries in the 3rd house. It could be through expressing courage, maybe being pioneering in communication. It can be something where, going away perhaps from a contentious situation, which could be Aries, with cousins, siblings, or neighbors, which would be associated with the 3rd house. Or you may be helping maybe somebody else stand up for themselves in this matter as well, where they may be going through some kind of suffering with what I just described. This could also be, hold on a moment, people. Now, in some remote cases, this could also manifest in physical. It could be wounds that you don't want unveiled. And say if it's an Aquarius as an example, I would say especially if this transit is in the first or sixth house in the natal chart, because the first house is associated with the physical body, the sixth house could be connected with physical health debilitations. Uh, Say if it's an Aquarius, it could be maybe an unusual growth or protrusion, or maybe it could be debilitation that might be very unusual, like that. Some of you may have heard of that hemiparesis, where I think that's what it's called, where half the body is paralyzed, as an example. Um, Also, Chiron is associated with diminished self-esteem or self-worth. Now, this transit may be expressed in some cases as diminished self-esteem or self-worth. It could be due to some kind of abuse or trauma. Say if this falls in the zodiac sign Cancer in the eighth house, it may be through due to some kind of emotional manipulation. Um, Another thing too is that Chiron is also connected with where we might feel some ineptitude, where we might feel inept. Now, there may be, in some cases, ineptitude that might be associated with the negative manifestation of a sign, with the placement of your natal Black Moon Lilith. Now, say if this falls in Aquarius in the second house, as an example, and it could be somebody that might feel like they're having some difficulty or an inept in figuring out, formulating some kind of original or ingenious ideas to help them generate money. It could be maybe there's something about this. I mean, where you have to remember that, I mean, the Black Moon Lilith could also, it's about where you can embrace the higher level of the placement, and it may be something where you could actually heal by doing so. And it's very important to remember that, because the Black Moon Lilith is not completely bad. It does have a very adverse energy connected with it, but if you can try to work through the negative and try to surpass that and actually attain the positive in it, it can be something that could have a lot of fulfillment if you are able to do so. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.